And we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the Jeet Kune Dialogues, episode number 299. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the dialogue. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune dialogues. So while we wait for my esteemed dialogue partner, Tim Becker, to join us, let me go ahead and do some self-serving stuff here and inform you, I guess, that Titans of JKD4. So those of you who know, we recently completed very successful Titans of JKD3, and everybody was like, you got to do this again. So we thought, okay, you know what, even if it takes us a number of months, let's go ahead and at least confirm the location, because the airport, Hilton Blue Lagoon, is a very popular hotel for tourists and what have you, but also as a conference center. And so we didn't want to wait and run the risk of not being able to do it there. And the people who there are like excellent. I mean, they're really, really good at this kind of conference stuff. So we had a really good time. So this is the plan for Titans of JKD4. I just realized I'm using the old incorrect poster. It's not Friday and Saturday. It is Saturday and Sunday, as most JKD seminars have been for decades. It is a weekend seminar, Saturday and Sunday, but it is definitely February 1st and February 2nd. So put that on your calendar like right now, and give me a couple weeks or so to get the website up with prices and more information and all that, and we'll be good to go. All right. So I can tell you guys why Tim isn't here yet. Tim is literally finishing up his own interview. Those of you who know Tim know that he is the host of his own podcast called what's it called? Right, because Tim runs so much stuff. Right, he teaches at the Inosanto Academy. Right, his own classes, plus he had private students and what have you there. He is Sifu Dan's assistant, and I guess maybe even training partner when they go do like the Cambodian kickboxing, that type of stuff and what have you. His podcast is the Martial Arts Lifestyle, because it's the Martial Arts Lifestyle magazine, right? Shortened to Malmag, I think, right? Yeah, like Mark Black says, Malmag, right? Then he runs 2 Facebook pages. There's the Jeet Kune Grappling Association page, and then there's another page. Mark, if you help me out with this, right? So anyhow, so long story short, Tim is let's see. Tim is about 2 miles away from me. Right, he's about 2 miles away from me, finishing up his own interview, and then he's gonna switch mode and come over here and be grilled. No, he's not gonna be grilled, because I actually don't have a whole lot of notes or what have you for him, simply because today's dialogue is just, I wasn't going to do anything. And then Tim said, well, since you're going to be in LA, why don't we try to get together? But it didn't work for me to go over to the academy and like do it live. Plus I don't have like the camera set up for that. So right now I still do stuff, as you can tell, on location using the laptop and what have you. But one day, right? So while we're waiting for Tim, if you guys have any questions for him that you want to go ahead and put in the comments, let me just open up the dialogue box here so I can see where stuff is and see who's here. Where's Terry Valor? Really, McTully? scroll to the top. So Terry's here, Mark Black is here, Anthony Labrador, Ron Goldstein. So Tim is 2 miles away from me, and Ron is, his room might be right above mine. So he might just be like 10 feet away from me or so. All right. So we're here. This weekend is Filipino martial arts seminar. Well, actually, Southeast Asian martial arts seminar plus Filipino Eskrima. So tomorrow and Sunday, we're going to be training with Sifu Inosanto and then Grandmaster Chris Pulo Atillo. And so we'll be reporting from that. So like I was saying, if you guys have any questions for Tim, go ahead and put them into the comments. In fact, I should check my email and see, or if you have any comments about anything for me right now, go ahead and okay. So yeah, so I didn't get any questions on email. Go ahead and put them in. Wait, you know who I didn't see? Is Russell here? There he is. Okay, Russell's here. Tim Red Tiger is here. Okay, cool. All right. Mick says I've been locked up in Richard Torres's basement rubbing lotion on my skin. Mick, you gotta stop that. Okay, all right. So Carlos Castro is here. So that means that Tim is done with him. So we should get some word from him any second now, right? So let me do a little. That'll work. Russell says he's fashionably late. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, it'll just take Tim a couple of minutes to switch. I think he does his stuff on Zoom, and then you got to get off Zoom and come on to Be Live or what have you. So all this stuff takes time, right? What can I tell? What else can I use to fill the time here? Episode 300. I am still crossing my fingers that my favorite Canadian JKD senior will grace us with his company, and we'll get to that. If not, I will have I'll have an equally spectacular dialogue partner next Friday. So in any case, tune in, because I'm not on the road next Friday, and then I'm not on the road the following Friday. But then we're back in LA at the end of April again for CELAT camp over at the Magda Institute, right? Okay, let's see who else has joined us. Hey, Dave Hatch. Okay, and Mark says that Tim also has his own association. Oh, I didn't know that. You mean separate, Tim? I mean, Mark, do you mean separate from the JKD Grappling Association? Is that what you're talking about? Let me know. Let's see if is he here yet. Oh, okay. All right. So just hang on for a while and oh, wait, what's this, Russell? Russell says, while we're filling time, I've heard it is indeed Tsuyoshi Abe as Orange Lee in The Brother's Son. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so I haven't watched that yet, Russell. I just got I started watching. I'm such a bad JKD fanboy. I started watching Warrior, and I think I got like 15 minutes into episode 1 of season 1, and then and then that got supplanted. I went back to this old TV series called Southland, which is about cops, patrol cops and detectives in LA. I think it's almost 20 years old or so, but I went back to that because that was a really, really good show, and I remember watching it. Warrior, I'll give you guys years after, right? Years after everybody has watched it, sometime by the end of the month or so, maybe if I've gotten through it, I'll give you guys my my take on it. But from the outset, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna like it or not. But anyhow, right? So Mark says that Tim's.
Can you hear me? There we go. Can you hear me?
In the car?
I'm in the car. Yeah, I'm actually down by the academy because I want to train with you guys in class tonight.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely be there. Listen, so we've been talking about you behind your back.
Oh no.
Right? Yeah. So Mark Black says you have to explain what is doble dos tatsulok.
Oh, okay. So doble means double, right? Dos means two, and tatsuluk means triangle, and that
Right.
is Tagalog. And this came about. Sorry, I'm just kind of shutting down my iPad from the last thing. This came about because I was trying to find a name for. Well, let's see. Let's go back to 2019, and Guru Dan and Simupala and Guru Cookie had told me at that point. They said, it's time for you to actually write your own curriculum, make your own organization, and make instructors. And I'm like, okay. Sure. And so I told Guru Dan, I said, I don't really want to name something after myself. I don't really have that type of personality that I want to have the Tim Becker blah 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 or whatever. He said, well, Paul Vunak does not have the Paul Vunak organization, and Burton Richard doesn't have the Burton Richard. I said, okay, I got you. Said fine. And so I was trying to figure out a name for the longest time, and I didn't really necessarily want to throw the words progressive and integrated and all these things. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody out there knows those names. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want to be another person in that pile that,
they've been done. Yeah, I get it.
Potentially competing with that, or not competing with, but if they're looking you up, I don't want them to get me, and think, oh my God, that's not who I'm looking for. So I was talking with my wife at the time, and I mean, she's from the Philippines, so she's Tagalog and Visayan fluent. And so there was a particular quote we see with Guru Dan that says, we train for the love of our family, and we train for the bravery of something and the love of tribe and that sort of thing. She really liked the quote. And so we were kind of trying to figure out how to say intersection of these things, and everything was very clunky, in a foreign language and way too wordy in English. And so we were at lunch with Guru Dan one day, and she said to him, I like this particular quote. He goes, oh, that's from the 22 Triangles of Kali. Haven't I shown you the 22 Triangles of Kali? And I said, the what? And I turned to her and said, how do I say 22 triangles? And so she said it in Visayan. It was a little clunky. And then she said it in Tagalog, again, a little clunky to say the number 22. But she said, wait, if we say double two and tatsuluk, she goes, doble dos tatsuluk. And I'm like, bingo, there we go. So that's how that came about.
Wow. Okay. I could have used that those language skills on the plane coming over here today. There was this gorgeous girl sitting next to me, but she spoke no English. Oh. And and my Spanish wasn't enough to keep up, not for a 5-hour flight. So damn. Right. So here's the thing. I told everybody before you got here, I have pretty much zero notes for you, right?
Oh,
But I did, because I just wanted people to, this is almost like if you and I were at the academy and we were talking, we
right.
just have cameras on us,
That's
right?
that's what I was thinking. That's
Yeah.
my whole idea. I thought,
Yeah.
just out there.
But here's the thing. So let me put this into the stream, right? Can you see that picture? Does the screen?
No, I just see a picture.
You can't see it?
You, me, and I see me a second time, which I don't need to see me twice, but
Okay. All right. So it is the let's see if I can move it around. Anyway, so it's you and Lauren
Oh,
at the Tim Tackett seminar
yes.
in Orlando with Eddie Pagan,
Got it.
right? Which was what, 1990 what?
That would have been around 95, I believe.
Okay. All right. So the reason why I put that up is
had long
because right. But the reason why I put that up and why I put it on the postcard for today's episode is because who is it? Albert Kwan and Michael Perez were unaware that you had been on the dialogues previously.
Yeah,
Twice. Right. So I wanted to clue people into that. So was this after you would have been on the student roster at my school or before? If it's 95.
If it's 95, it would be before, because I met you around, I want to say 98 or 99, because it was my senior year at the University of Miami.
Okay.
There. So I was there from 97 through 99.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been
right.
Okay. After, yes.
So Albert Kwan, Michael Perez, Tim and I go way back.
Oh yeah,
right?
Back.
Episode 24 is what you were on. But then I thought of this, right? Is that somewhat emblematic of a problem that we have in JKD? You and I go back decades. You've been on the show, but people who are closely associated with us were unaware of it. So isn't that almost like we've been trying to get the message out about Jeet Kune for decades, and sometimes even people close to us don't get it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people involved. I mean, there's a lot of bodies there. So, I can understand. It's a big thing that goes a lot of different directions. So, whether that's a problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but it's certainly expected, I guess, with the amount of people involved. It'd be one thing if there was only 100 of us and we didn't know, but there's tens of thousands, if not more,
right,
of people involved in this on the larger scale. I mean, as far as JKD, probably millions at this point.
So what you're saying is that there is still work to be done, and there will always be work to be done.
Of course.
Is that what you're saying?
Of course. I mean, if it wasn't, we'd get bored.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. So you are well known on the pages of Facebook for your even-temperedness and your slow pace at becoming annoyed, right?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's exactly what you're known for.
Okay.
So I wanted you to tell people how, to develop that type of infinite patience with.
I think some of that comes with age, and whether I really go either direction both comes with there's just certain things that probably, pick your battles, I guess is, an old adage. And you start to, there was a thing, Dwight, I know you're like into like a lot of cool stuff, philosophy and like, what is it? Motivational stuff. Have you ever heard of a guy named Morris Massi? I don't even know if he's still alive.
No.
Yeah, I think he was a sociologist, I want to say. And he was probably, I'm going to guess just by the things that I saw, was probably big in maybe the late 70s into the 80s. Okay. So where I first learned about him was in high school in 1987. We had I was in an AP class, and we ended up watching this video by this guy. And I want to say it was the better part of 4 hours long. And I think it's a corporate video because I've looked it up and it's hard to get. And I'd like to see if I can get my hands on it. And it's a weird title. It's something like "What You Are Is What You Were When." And what he talks
Wow.
about how and why we believe the things we do. And then more importantly, what it actually takes to change those, what he calls gut level value programming in you. And I found it absolutely fascinating. And it's 100% true. And he said what it takes is to change your gut level value programming takes a significant emotional event. And I can guarantee for nobody, arguing with someone on Facebook is a significant emotional event. It's just an event. It's not significantly emotional, not enough to change your mind. And I mean, it can be anything from obviously someone you trust showing you something and you go, wow, okay. Or just an experience that completely rocks your belief system, which is generally, what you see like with people that are extreme racists, like Ku Klux Klan people or whatever. They end up kind of having this experience within one of the racial communities that they've been so hating for so long, and they go, whoa, I was so wrong. That's a significant emotional event. So understanding that, it's just like once you start arguing with people that you find are so firmly entrenched in something, you just have to understand you're not going to change their mind. So how much time do you want to waste with that? And, yelling and stuff probably is not going to be the significant emotional event that'll change your mind. So, try the honey way. And if that doesn't work, okay, then, fail and go to better things.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I found something called the Massi Triad. You are is where you see. Is that it?
That's something I think that came after. That's one of them.
Okay. That's interesting because, that does remind me of, the old, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I had a take on that because usually when people say it, they're saying, if I say it to you, Tim, what you see is what you get. What I'm saying is that what you see me as, that's who I am. Right.
Correct.
But I had a take on that where it was not, it was, I turned it around on the inside, right? So that what I see as a person in my mind, right? What I see in my heart or whatever, that's what's manifested out there in the real world. So what I see, my perception is reflected back to me. So that when I saw that name there, that term there just now, what you are is where you see. So, okay. But so Dave Hatch remembers Morris Massey. So I'm going to have to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Very interesting. And I'm going to definitely, now that I see that, I'm going to talk to David next time I talk with him about it. Cause David's smart. He's one of my upcoming guests on the show. We've already recorded the show.
Oh, nice.
Just great person. Very smart guy. I love talking with David.
Yeah. I mean, it continues to be reinforced almost every week that I do an episode of the dialogues, just how much, forget martial art talent we have out there, right? In our JKD family, just super smart people, period.
Yeah.
Just super smart people, period. Listen, do you have any idea what the crowd will be for this weekend?
I do not. And the funny thing is, I just saw Dory walk by, and I could have asked her, but I didn't cross my mind.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just wondering because Grandmaster Attilo is here with us.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he was in Florida for the past couple of days, and then he flew back out. He flew back out today, so he's over here at the hotel with us, and so you'll I'll be chaperoning.
Why there were so many pictures of him and Ron. I thought, oh, did Ron come out?
Yeah, no. The Grandmaster flew over to Florida, right? Okay, so you're talking about personality stuff and what have you. Without naming names, right? There was this recent incident where, okay,
We're talking about, it sounds fun.
yeah, without naming names, right? There was this recent incident. I was flabbergasted. And the thing about it is that I don't have enough experience on the internet to know whether or not people are trolling or whatever. I didn't even know what trolling meant, to be honest with you.
Right.
So the incident is the video of Sifu Hartzel.
Oh yeah, okay, that one. Yeah.
Okay. And then you see a guy move his hand while Sifu Hartzel is doing something. And that turned out to be interpreted as, oh, that guy is coaching Larry Hartzel. Okay. Now,
yeah,
I did not spend anywhere near the amount of time that you spent with Larry Hartzel. And I would never think, here's a guy, right? So when I saw that, I thought, man. So then when I saw that you got involved in it, I was like, okay, yeah.
Well, not only me, and then Mick Shore and Chris Brown. I mean, these guys spent a lot of time with Larry, and you know, a lot of people ask, well, Chris, well, who the hell are you? And it's like, well, he's a guy whose daughter is the goddaughter of Larry. So yeah, he's got a little knowledge. Both these guys have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering, do you have an explanation for this? Where does that type of thing come from? I mean, what is it? Is it a lack of knowledge about who Larry Hartzel was?
With this particular person, no, we know that's not true with the person who said that. But I mean, it could. Let's say if it was just random person, we have no idea who they are. I suppose that's possible, but I think we know and through plenty of study, we're humans. We all have biases, and we're going to have them naturally. It's just how we're wired. It's how it works. It's a survival mechanism, realistically. And what we have to do is understand how to neutralize that in a way, or ask the questions that gets us beyond our biases, unless we want to be tied to them. And we could say there's an agenda there. That's very possible. And again, I kind of don't want to get into ripping on anybody, but or even guessing what agendas are. But there could be an agenda there. There could be, a bias of a dislike. Maybe the person already does not like Larry, or they don't like a lineage, or they don't like something. So that's all potentially coming out there. I'm not sure how you interpret what you're seeing as the guy coaching Larry at all. At no point did I see eye contact, or, I mean, it's clear. It's just clear that he's talking to his training partners next to him, not Larry.
Yeah.
But, what I think we have to do in our endeavor of martial arts, of which, whether you want to study multiple things or just one thing, you still have to be able to analyze something. And your analytical brain should say, what are the possibilities here? Is there only one explanation? There tends to be one truth, yes, but there are lots of explanations that you have to explore, to question, to find out which the evidence supports most likely, right?
Yeah.
And so if your only conclusion from watching that is, oh, that guy's coaching him, okay, there's no other possibility. You have zero possibilities other than that. Okay, well, what if that's your conclusion? What is your evidence? What supports that? That's available there? And nothing really. I mean, other than the other thing that he said, which doesn't connect to it at all. There were factoids in there that are correct. I mean, yes, Larry did not start as a grappler as his focus. No, he was a very amazing kicker. I've got some great photos of him actually kicking, and like his face is touching his leg. I should see if I can find that. I know I've got it in the stuff that I have. And Guru Dan even tells a story of him throwing a spinning kick and breaking the jaw of a guy, another student at the Kempo school that was a Beverly Hills Police Department officer. And they thought they were going to get in a little legal trouble for it, but they didn't, fortunately. And so, yeah, Larry was known as a really dynamic kicker and really didn't get to where he emphasized grappling until after an auto accident, and it injured his hip to where he couldn't kick that way anymore. And so he just reinvented himself.
Right.
And then it was spun as a marketing ploy. Well, that's not really much of a marketing ploy when people weren't into grappling at the time. You know, grappling is like something that really took off after the UFC.
Right.
Now
No,
everybody wants to do it.
Right.
You know, Larry couldn't get people into it other than, you know, the people that kind of knew like, oh yeah, that's an important thing to do, or the people he was designing it for, which was law enforcement officers, security people, you know, and that the line of work he was doing, bodyguards and that sort of thing. So, you know, all that early material grappling wise that he developed was really for that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a known fact, but it wasn't be that great of a marketing tool. You know, the good marketing tool would be Larry Hartzel was the premier JKD fighter. Okay, yeah, people understand that. That'd be a way better marketing tool if we're talking about marketing. But
what fill me in a little bit on his chronology, because I know that because if I remember correctly, the saying is outside of Los Angeles in like 1972, the only place where there was legitimate JKD was Larry Hartzel in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's true. I know he let's see, he came to California from North Carolina, I believe in either the like 1959, either the very late 1950s or very early on in 1960. And I know he had done some like wrestling and stuff in high school. So I mean, he had some grappling to him. It just wasn't the emphasis, right? And then I believe he took some judo from I can't remember the name, but it was kind of a big name. And then he did some Shotokan. And then he said he just happened to be passing by the Ed Parker School, which was Santa Monica Boulevard, and probably like Santa Monica and Sepulveda, I think is kind of the area of where that was at the time. And he said as he passed it, he decided to have a look into it and saw that, said, oh, this is what I'd like. This is what I'd like to do. And so he started studying Kempo there, and that's where he met with Guru Dan, and they became friends, obviously. And then I believe, kind of very funny story, Guru Dan told me this, where he said, you know, it was hard to hold pads and stuff for Bruce Lee, especially the kicking. He said it would really rock him, you know, and shake him up. Going to the chiropractor like twice a week. And the chiropractor's asking him, what are you doing that you're getting messed up so much? He's like, man, I really need to get someone else to take this abuse. And he says, hey, Larry, how would you like to go study with this guy with me? You know, Bruce Lee. And Larry's like, okay. So I guess Larry, you know, went and handled, you know, some of that. But then he got drafted. No, he didn't. He volunteered, actually. The draft was going on. And so he volunteered. And so I think what he did is he asked Bruce Lee, he said, hey, if I'm going off to Vietnam, and when I come back, if I come back, and I think that's how he phrased it, I would like to be your student. And so Bruce Lee accepted him. So I think that the bulk of his study came probably after 67, you know, when he came back.
Right.
But he knew before. He definitely met and knew him before, and I think was sort of a pad holder. And just aside, it was kind of funny because this 3 parts of different stories I'm going to stitch together for you here are hilarious. So, and I talked to Eric Paulson about this. So I guess when Yori came here and they're starting Shudo, it was Simapala, Guru Dan, Hiromi, and Yori. And of course, so Guru Dan's like stuck training with Larry, and he's like, man, Larry puts these locks on really hard. They hurt. And he's, I need to get someone to take this abuse for me. Hey, Eric, how would you like to go study Shudo with Yori Nakamura? And Eric's like, yeah, that'd be great. And then he gets there and he goes, oh, I see what you're doing. You want me to be Larry's partner. And these are great stories. And the third one is Guru Dan a few years ago asked me if I wanted to go with him to his systemic practice. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And I get halfway there and I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I know this story. Uh-oh. I'm the punch guy. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then Sifu Larry went back to North Carolina for how long? Was he there just for a couple of years, or
Well, we're talking. So he went back to North Carolina. I think it was after Bruce Lee passed away. So he went back there, and I've got the letter, and I think I've shared it. It's an actual letter that Guru Dan gave him, authorizing him to open school. And I believe that's dated. I believe it's 74, maybe early 74. We can probably look. It might actually be on my Facebook there somewhere. And I'm not sure. I think he was there probably from that time period into the 80s. So I want to say, I don't know exactly when he came back here, but I think he had written those 2 books he did while he was in North Carolina. So he was
really?
Yeah, I think so. And then somewhere in the 80s, he came back here, I think, more permanently to I'd have to get that. Don't take everything as 100% fact. I have to get that timeline down a little better, but yeah, I know, because I mean, he came back and was doing security work with Guru here, and man, there's some good stories that they would tell about that, like guarding the Larry Flint estate and stuff like that. And then, I mean, he was bodyguarding Mr. T.
Mr. T. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was early 80s. So yeah, he was probably back here by sometime in the 80s. I should have.
Well, I'm pretty sure he had to have been back by 82, because I think that was the first year of CMAA in Irvine.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. And he was, and I think he was on the roster. If he and Tackett were not on the roster in 82, they definitely were on the roster in 83, because I met them.
Okay.
I met them that year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I remember talking to Tim Tackett a while back about some of that, and this is quite a while back, and I seem to remember him saying that the book, at least the first book idea, came when he was out on the East Coast, and Guru, I think, had suggested that they link up, and maybe that was just brainstorming it early on, and then they found they got along really well and that, but I want to say that when they were coming up with that, at least that first book, that would be he was still in North Carolina at that time. But
okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if a lot of people know that that first book, that Tim Tackett's name doesn't appear as an author, because I think he was still under contract with O'Hara Publications or something.
Right. Yeah. He had I think contractual obligations that disallowed him from having his name on it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, right? Because I guarantee you, somebody somewhere has made an issue out of that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, Tim Tackett didn't write that first book, because I guarantee you.
Oh yeah.
Right, because they're always looking at all this stuff and offering up opinions. Why do they do that? Why do people offer up opinions when they don't know anything? But why do they feel compelled?
Well, I think we all like to feel important, and no, and I'm not saying that, in a bad way. I mean, we do. We like to feel important to a circle of people around us. So, like, you want to feel important to your friends, you want to feel important to your family. And so I think there's a basic need to feel important, or like you have some knowledge or something. And like anything, it can take weird afflictions or something, like morph into weird mutations. We see that, and it's like, I think it's usually that's just compensation, for something else going on, whether, they feel that they don't have importance in their life in other places, or control, or something like that. I'm not a psychologist, I've got a lot of interest in that sort of thing. Why humans do what they do has always been a fascination to me, why we behave the way we behave. what parts are culture, what parts are just like problems in your head, what parts are experience and trauma, that sort of thing.
That's not what you studied in school, right?
No, I was a English and mass communications major with the mass communications emphasis was in film and cinema. So,
okay. Well, that explains another one of your Facebook traits. Why, if people's grammar is terrible.
Well, I only do that if you are pretending to be Mr. Know-It-All about everything. I'm going to go, well, then your grammar should be better. If you're going to nitpick people, and a lot of this is just me, like, just poking back. If a person's wound up and they're being a bit of a jerk, I'm like, okay, well, fine. You're going to get a jerk back at you, but I don't get that upset about it. It's just more of a game. Like, well, how much can this person get wound up and go, woo, some of them can get really wound up and okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to stop and remind myself that a lot of times people are doing their Facebook communication on their phones, which I never do.
Oh,
I never do that. Facebook is a computer thing for me, right? I mean, I don't love it that much, right? that I'm gonna be on there. So you said English and mass communication,
right?
And the mass communication with a
film and cinema.
Film.
Yeah. Okay.
So behind the camera.
Yeah. Yep.
So where's your movie?
Well, I worked in television primarily. So, I mean, you've seen a lot of my work. If you've seen E-Entertainment programming from the late 1990s into the mid, like before 2010, and even a little after that, I did a lot of True Hollywood Story, those countdown shows on there. And what else? A lot of e-news. So the last couple of years before I went to Central Asia, I cut a lot of e-news packages for them. Daily 10, which was kind of a fun show that was on at the time. I did sort of the weekend edition of that. And when I came back, I did a little work with them on True Hollywood Story stuff again, and a couple like specials that they did on particular items. Oh, and for a while I did some stuff on because True Hollywood Story oddly wanted to get into like true crime stuff, so they had a version called True Hollywood Story Investigates. So I did some stuff on the BTK killer and several things like that. And then I went into scripted television for a while. So I worked on something that's actually making a big noise right now, apparently. So I worked on 2 Nickelodeon shows that were the last 2 shows done by the creator by the name of Dan Schneider. And so apparently there's that whole thing out there called yeah. So you see that big thing going on. So I worked on the last 2 shows that he put out there. And it was interesting. I'm betting I got approached by that documentary crew because it sounds like they ambushed one guy that was making a bit of a fuss about it that I read about today. But I got contacted on LinkedIn about a year or so ago, and I don't ever look at that because it's like my work, we really don't go through that at all. But I have a profile on there, and I somehow looked at it once, and I'm like, oh well, sorry, this message is like 4 months old. And it was a guy saying he was I think he said he was a reporter, maybe he was doing an article on it, and said, oh, I saw you were on some Dan Schneider shows, and just curious, if you had any interaction or what with him and be willing to talk about it. And I'm like, well, I said, I'm sorry, one, that I'm replying so late. I just don't ever look at this. And I said, and the answer is yes, I've had interaction with him because I was, in the post-production department, but my interaction with him was generally very brief. He was always very professional with me. He's a big guy, but so am I. So I don't get a lot of people, even in the entertainment industry. It's known for some vicious characters, but they generally don't get like that with me because I stand taller than most of them.
Right.
So yeah. So, if bullies tend to get intimidated easy if you're bigger than them. So no, he was always fine with me. and again, our interaction was like probably half dozen times. My post setup, we were at the studio, so I did see them, and I would see them on set. And quite honestly, you know, with the other stuff that's going on out there, those kids were very safe on the two shows. So it was like Henry Danger and Game Shakers were the two, and the studios were back to back. And it was old Jay Leno's old stage, because it's at the Burbank Studios, which were NBC at one time. And the two, I think the funny thing is, the studio number 9 that Game Shakers was on was the infamous Jay Leno studio that Trump was on when he said grab him by the P word. That was actually that soundstage. So, and I'm working on that show in 2016 when that's all coming out, right? So I told Nick Dossman. Nick Dossman worked he was one of our guys in the post room. So he actually got promoted. He's a funny guy. And I think he went up to work in the writer's room. And I told Nick, I said, you need to put on a Trump wig. You need to go down and grab a cat. Because this would just be hilarious, because you're right on that same stage, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. So interesting world. That was actually pretty cool. There was a lot of stunt people, you know, that came through, especially Henry Danger. And if I was wearing an Inosanto shirt, they immediately like zoop right over to me like, hey, do you know person X and person Y? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
a couple of trips ago, Ron got accosted, because you know me, I wear my Bob Marley sweatshirt but Ron wears the Inosanto cap. So we get off the plane and a guy comes over to him, you know, and he's like, he recognizes the name and everything, and strikes up a conversation. Before you got here, I was looking through the comments of people as they came on, and we were talking about Warrior, and then and I was telling people that I saw 15 minutes of episode 1 of season 1, and then I didn't go back to it. But I have been rewatching Southland.
Okay.
Right. So did you know Southland? Did you ever see that show?
I have not seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Okay.
But I've not seen it.
Okay.
You recommend it? Good?
Yes, most definitely. To me, I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing it now as remember The Wire that was based in Baltimore?
Oh,
okay. So Southland is, to me, The Wire West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm interested.
Right? Yeah. And I'm on season 4, I think. And so now we have to drop names and association with the Inosanto Academy. Did Lucy Liu ever train at the Inosanto Academy?
If she did, it wasn't while I was around. I mean, there's obviously Jeff and Sioshi will train people here, and it's gone on either go on during the day when there's something not going on, or on a weekend or something. But she may have. I don't know. There's a lot of people that have, though.
Yeah, I remember back on Manchester Avenue. I think that was the first time that I came out to the Thursday morning class.
Oh yeah.
But back then, my nickname for that Thursday morning class was the Hollywood class. Because I saw a lot of faces that I knew from the big screen.
Yeah.
Right. And even the small screen in that class.
Oh yeah.
You know, guys from Big Trouble in Little Tokyo, Showdown in Little Tokyo, or whatever it was, right? You know, all.
Well, you got Big Trouble in Little China, and you got Showdown in Little Tokyo. You got both of those.
Yep. So let's do this, because I think he's on here. Let's take Mick Tully to task.
Mick Tully, hey Mick.
Yeah, let's take Mick Tully to task.
Damn, Mick beat me to the show, and it's my show.
Because Mick did not know, without looking it up, how many TV shows and movies Sifu Inosanto had appeared in.
Oh, really?
Yes, he did not know.
How many TV shows and movies he's appeared in?
Yes, and I think that's shameful.
Oh, 100%. Offer it. Yeah.
Right? How dare he? How dare Mick Tully not know that off the top of his head?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to offer a guess at that myself, but wow. Speaking of that, so I want to do a fun one with him, because he and Terry Valor and Mark Black are always racing to be the first on your show, right?
Right.
So I've had all three of them on mine, and I want to do a thing because I did this at Halloween here at the Academy. We usually do, like, for those kind of holidays for the kids, we do a party. And so I usually have them do some different games, and we always end with a piñata, which is great. Put their collie skills to some use to hit a piñata. And one of the games I did was I made a quiz of about 25 questions that they could find because you've been in the Academy, you see all of the stuff on the wall, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they could find the answers in the room. And so it was a scavenger hunt of trivia. And so I teamed them up, because the kids class goes from 4 to 14. So every group had at least an older kid, all the way to younger kid. And so at some point, Simo texts Dory and she says, "What are they doing now?" And she said, "Well, Timmy's got him doing some sort of trivia scavenger hunt game." She goes, "Oh, send me the questions." So Dory says, "Simo wants you to send her the questions." So I send, and Simo goes, "Oh, these are good questions." He goes, "Maybe in March camp, we'll do this to the instructors and say, 'Are you smarter than a little dragon?'" And they didn't. And I was like, "Oh man, that'd be fun." So I told the three of those guys, I said, "I want you on my podcast and we'll do the quiz. We'll see how you guys do." And they said yes. So we got to get that together. I think they'd have a good time with that one.
That'd be that'd be awesome. Man, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, kids loved it. I tend to send them home with some homework. Funny, Guru Dan sent them home with some homework like a week ago, and he hasn't asked them for it yet. They are supposed to look up who the Gurkha are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Well, that'll be a piece of cake. They'll just go on Chat GPT.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? That'll be a piece of cake. Right? Yeah, but that's
my grandparents need to come over and look at the World Encyclopedia.
Right. Yeah. I did do a questionnaire thing back when I was running my school. Now I'm trying to remember if it was part of evaluations or not, or if I just gave it to my people. But that's Tim,
idea.
That's another great idea of yours that I might have to rip off.
Yeah, please do. Because I think it's important. We get so involved with a lot of the physical stuff that we do that sometimes, one of the important things, and obviously it's a source of friction in a way between the groups that are out there, because especially with some of the things you're talking about, like, okay, why are we naming things? And it's like, well, some of us are a reference point, obviously, to start from. And I understand your greater conversation and where you're going. Like, in the end, we don't need to, or you shouldn't be stuck on that. Right.
Right.
But, we do want to, and especially if we're to understand, and I don't know whether this was true or just something was put in, that good old Dragon, the Bruce Lee film, about, how Bruce Lee was interested in obviously spreading Asian culture and the knowledge of it. I want to believe that that's a true thing. And I think it's a good thing anyway. So we honor that by, yes, what does this group call this thing? And what do we call this? And where did this come from? These are important things on that level of honoring culture and honoring history. And, it's easy, especially with the amount of things that we look at when we get fixated on the physical, to kind of overlook these things and forget them. And I believe Ajahn Chai is still giving a Thai history test or something when you go to Thai camp. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I am pretty sure that there is no Shotokan black belt who doesn't know, perhaps not even surface level, but in depth, the history of Funakoshi.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I don't, right? So, I sometimes in the JKD world, it's like, oh, well, that's not necessary. Oh, that's so classical and that's so whatever. I don't know. I think sometimes, if you've dedicated your life to a thing, I think that Now, you don't have to know what color shirt Bruce Lee was wearing, right?
Sure.
On
Right.
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 You don't have to know that. But and you don't have to know, that comes from page whatever of the Tao of Jeet Kune.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still think there's certain things that you should know, right? That
Right.
are important to the art, that are important to the lineage of the art, and that could possibly help in your understanding, in your coming to understanding,
Right.
right?
100%.
Because tell me if this has ever happened to you. Years later, something with which you were quite familiar all of a sudden takes on a new meaning.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? So is there a name for that phenomenon? Do you know?
George Carlin joke popped into my head. Bouja Day. You know, the feeling that none of this has ever happened before. That's totally stolen from him. You know, I would call it, I don't know, maturity, wisdom. Wouldn't we call it that?
Well, it's possible. But I just, to me, what it represents is that this animal, as Chris Kent would say in he and Tackett in their book, this animal called JKD, it's a thing that you have to stick to. You have to stick with it, because as time passes, it's almost as if, I don't know, truth reveals itself.
Yeah.
You know, as time passes. And I don't know how much of that is being transmitted to people, or are they, what do you think? Are people thinking like you were just talking about the physical, are people thinking more and more in terms of the physical aspects? Because there's so much physical being taught.
Right.
You know, right? Or, and so, are people leaning towards productization, or are people still aware that this is a process?
I think all of that, all those things, you know, again, you know, as one of the first things you asked me, I think we have a lot of people involved. So a lot of people, and motivations are all individual, and reasoning is individual, and it evolves as well. So, you know, think about, you know, I think about myself, why I got involved in martial art as a 12-year-old is not the same reason why I'm involved in it now. And I'm thinking probably the same for you. You know, why you started is not probably the reason why you're still in it. You know, I had sort of the classic, I mean, I always loved it as a kid, watching the films and the toys that were out at the time were martial art themed and that. And so I always had an interest in it, always wanted to do it, but it was, you know, a bullying type situation that actually got me into it. And within a couple of years, I'd grown to the height that you see me now. So, you know, by 4.5, I was 6'4". Bullying didn't really stay that much with me after that. So, and I've not really had a lot of problems with people outside of a car. You know, everyone's tough in their car, but, you know, face to face, like when I'm out, I just don't generally get a lot of people getting in my face. And a lot of it is also how I conduct myself. I'm not looking at for it either, but so that's not the reason why I stay in it. You know, there's a lot of other reasons. So I think, you know, people's reasons and for doing what they're doing and what they're looking for are all different, and then they're evolving over time. So I think there are people just looking for the physical thing. There are people who are looking for something to do. There are people looking for health reasons. There are people looking for, I don't know, we can, you know, discuss all kinds of reasons. So I think trying to collect that as one zeitgeist, so to speak, might be a fruitless endeavor. You know, it might be like hold sand in your hand real tight. So
talking about that zeitgeist thing, what is the deal with the Jeet Kune was not designed as a sport? What is up? What's up with that?
Well, okay. I mean, you know, what's funny is we take information that is a fact, and then we it's assumed that it means something greater than it does. I think that's probably correct. Jeet Kune Do is not designed as a sport. Pretty sure Bruce Lee was not designing a sport. 100%. Yeah,
Right.
that's true. But what I think sport had a lot to do with Jeet Kune Do. 100%. If you look at the stuff that was like physical education that he's got in his notes that is appearing in things are from Guru Dan's textbooks that he taught from. He's shown me these books and I'm like, ooh, I need to get a hold of these textbooks. They're very interesting. And I think why Bruce Lee got along with Guru Dan so well is because he was an athlete and he understood a lot of the concepts of what it takes to get better, what it takes to evolve, what it takes to continue to stay in the game, so to speak, whether that game is an actual game or whether that game is evolving combat for real, because of his sports background, his competitive sports background. And so I still am a little bit lost as to what people are saying here. Like, okay, it wasn't created as a sport. Yes, we know that. But okay, well, what do you mean? Well, okay, there's no referee. Well, I don't think there's anyone who's ever been in a real fight that was looking for a referee. They might have been looking for someone to save them. They might have been looking for the teacher if it was a bully or something. But everyone's pretty sure there's not a guy standing there with a whistle ready to stop it. There's no rules. Well, yeah, we know that too. There might be social constructs that people like. I mean, think about it. Back before we started seeing Asian martial arts, someone who kicked someone was considered, whoa, what'd you do? You kicked the guy in a fight? What, are you crazy? That's not acceptable. You know? Yeah. Or like even did Guru talk about this? Like, you know, it's funny because he says a lot of stories over and over again. I forget who might be present. But you remember when he was talking about, if you've heard it, how people looked at Thai boxing, like when it was called Siamese boxing. And he was talking about seeing newsreels when he was a kid and they need somebody and people are like, oh, these barbarians are kneeing. Yeah. You know? And to us now, that's not, of course you do that in a fight, but you know, social norms, even if you were saying, okay, these guys are going to fight and there's no referee, there was an unspoken rule of you're not really trying to kill the guy. You're not going to kick him. You're not going to knee him, this sort of thing. But even in those situations, we know there's not an actual referee standing there and that there are not really rules beyond what you consider a social norm potentially. And even now, so many cultures are mixed. I think we all understand that a lot of that's out the door. You know? So that's not new information. So it can't be, if that's what you mean, it's like, well, okay, Captain Obvious, you know, we know that. So are they saying that, I mean, some people are very directly saying that sports, martial arts, any of it really won't help you. Well, I don't understand how that's even a thought. You know, if you've ever stood and dealt with a person, and I know not everyone's at Olympic level, but get an idea, try it once. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be good friends with Kenny Johnson, and he came in. He's an Olympic alternate wrestler. So this guy, and he's my age, so he's old man, young man, however we want to look at ourselves, but he's that caliber, right? And he came in. He used to do Thursday regular sessions with Guru, his Bolt Wrestling, and it was great. It was something I got to be involved with. But I remember I was subbing for Atticus's Thursday afternoon class once, which was always right before that lesson. And I was doing some soft stick sparring with some of the people in class. And Kenny came in and said, oh, that looks fun. I want to try that. I'm like, great. And I was going to have him spar somebody. He goes, no, I want to spar with you. And I said, okay, no problem. You know, threw him a stick and he's walking out. And I thought, okay, usually with someone who's never done this, you get to do this and I'm going to take it easy because this and that. And because he's going to, I thought, you know what? No, you dumbass. This guy is an Olympic level athlete. So his command of distance and timing is already going to be probably superior to mine.
Right.
So I'm like, this guy's going to be in and out of this range pretty easy. He understands range. He understands what it is I have in my hand. So I don't think he's going to be that easy to hit. And if I don't watch it, he's going to smack me. And he did. He got me a couple of good times which would have been like damaging for real if they were really real sticks. And I mean, if we counted hits, yeah, I got more. But I'm pretty sure if we would have said, hey, takedowns are legal, he probably would have put me on my back.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Because I've worked with him. I know what his shot's like. The dude's a middleweight. I'm a heavyweight, and he hits me like a heavyweight. So it's like, unless you've dealt with that, it's just dumb to say this shit.
It
It's
really
dumb.
is.
It's
It
dumb to
really.
think I'm gonna eye poke and kick Mike Tyson in the knee. Oh, you might, but he's probably punched you in the head and knocked you out. So I just don't think people understand the level of what you're dealing with when you're talking about a professional and Olympic level athlete, let alone someone who's actually a serious hobbyist who does these things, you know,
Mm-hmm.
regularly. Whether
Yeah.
it's a sport martial art or a real martial art, even if it's a sport martial art, okay. But I mean, what's the difference between a punch to the chin and an eye jab? About this much, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
I mean,
target.
and the thing about it is that, I mean, are they thinking when they think sport martial art, are they thinking about decades ago, or are they thinking about current? Because the these are some of the best conditioned people in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well, even if you
so
think about back, if you think about back in the heyday, like the days of Chuck Norris and Mike Stone and DeGaldo and Skipper Mullins, all name them all,
Mhm.
Jim Kelly, all those guys were doing that. You can see the photos, you can see the film of it. These guys have bandages. I mean, they, whether they meant to actually hit, whether they were
Right.
supposed to actually hit, they did, and I mean, it caused some damn injury.
Yeah, it was
So,
not. Yeah, this idea that it was this tap-in thing or whatever. It was rough and tumble, man.
oh yeah, yeah. That the tapping stuff was more, I think, the '80s, '90s. When they padded up more, and you could get a point by jumping up the air and back fisting someone on top of the
Yeah.
head. They were doing that. They,
Right.
I guarantee they weren't doing that in the Joe Louis days, because they know they would have broken their damn hand hitting the guy on top of the head.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was more probably the era, like, as I was getting of age to compete in that stuff, because I remember my friend that actually got me into karate did win a tournament that way by jumping up and back fisting a guy on top of the head, and he was very angry about it afterwards. He said, I was just doing it to mess around, and he goes, and I got a point for something that was just ridiculous. And so he just like, yeah, I got a medal or a trophy or something, he says, but he's like, come on. So it was
Right.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Listen, my friend, I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you.
4 o'clock. Yeah, you guys get it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. We're sitting talking
I'll-
a quarter mile from each other. You're just right down the street at the MDR, right?
we are, well, we're at the Marina MDR, not the Maxella MDR.
Oh, okay. Where's the Marina MDR? Is it by the
It's off Bally Way.
Valley?
Yeah. So if you go down Maxella, turn on Lincoln. I think the next crossway is Bally Way.
Oh, okay. Well, you're just down there by the mall then.
Is there a mall? I don't know. We're close to the Ralphs. We're close to.
Oh yeah, that same one. Yeah.
Bally Way, Admiralty Way, all that stuff. That's where we are. Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
10
But
blocks.
I gotta go make sure that Ron didn't fall asleep.
Oh, definitely. Don't let him sleep. How's he gonna sleep? Doesn't he have Grandmaster Tilio there with him? Constant energy.
I know.
Stories. That's the best part.
Oh my God, he has not stopped.
Oh,
right? Okay. All right. So I'll see you in 37 minutes.
yeah, that sounds great. And I hope
right.
everybody's entertained. Like you said, it's just like us having a conversation normally. I hope.
Yeah, we just let them in on our conversation.
Hope they didn't mind.
All right, my friend. I'll see you in a little bit. All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So that's what goes on behind the scenes at the Inosanto Academy. We sit around and we talk. Right. Okay. So that was episode 299 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. I was taking a peek over here at some of the comments. Albert Kwan, I probably won't get to do it until tonight when I get back from the Inosanto Academy. But Albert, you had said something about there isn't really a spiritual side to JKD. I'm going to try to find a quote of Bruce Lee's and send that to you and get your feedback on it. Right. Okay. So you guys know the deal. Comment. I'll ask Tim to go back and look at stuff and see if there's anything he needs to reply to, or if I need to reply to anything. You can support me and the show at paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami, where the Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1 is available. paypal.me/unifiedma Miami. You can also support the show right here on the YouTube by, if I could find that that link. There we go. Right, just click the join link over on the YouTube, and you can take a look at the different membership levels that we have there. Another way to support the show is at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this, the UMAA Kali JKD t-shirt, available as a hoodie, sweatshirt, coffee mug, all that good stuff. But like I said in the beginning, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Do dialogues. Okay, so till the next episode, and I'll let you guys know during the week, right? Wish me good times here in LA, and we'll talk soon. This is Dwight Woods, the JKD Rebel, signing off. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.